Hi there, YouTube. In just over a week, I'm going to be flying in a World Championship hang gliding event. Now, I'm super excited about that. Obviously, I'm a bit nervous as well. Really looking forward to it. It's in a place called Livorno, which is in Italy. It's on the edge of Lake Maggiore. It's kind of in the low hills, in the foothills, just south of the Alps. We had a warm up, a pre-Worlds event there last year. You can see the videos now from that event. I did pretty well in it. The trophies there from then. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this event. Now, the cool thing about hang gliding events now is that you can watch them online, so you can follow the tracking. You just need a web browser, just go online, and you'll be able to see the hang gliders as they all go round the course, and you'll be able to watch in real time to see how we're getting on. I'll also try and do some live casting from before launch or after landing, or maybe both. But when you're watching, it's kind of like any sport. You kind of need to understand it. Like to get anything out of it, you need to sort of know what a hang gliding event is. So the purpose of this video, I'm not really aiming it at people that are already flying comps. This video is for people that don't really sort of understand what a hang gliding competition is. So how it works, how it's scored, what we do when we're flying the competition. So hopefully if you watch the live tracking, you'll be able to understand what's going on and see how we're doing. So firstly, what are the competitions that are happening this year? Well, it's a World Championship year, so we've got World Championships happening this year. So usually we have a World Championships every 2 years, and in the years in between then there's regional championships such as Europeans. Also in the years between the World Championships there's pre-worlds, they call them. So these are events which are run in the location where the World Championships will take place, and it gives the organisers and the pilots a chance to practice at the comp in the place that the main comp is going to be. So this year we've got 2 World Championship events taking place. So the first one is starting in June, and that's the sports class World Championships. That's happening in Livorno in Italy, and then in July we've got the open class World Championships, which is happening in Ager in Spain. So what do we mean by the sports class and the open class? If you kind of think in if you're familiar with motor racing, then a good analogy would be that the open class would be like the Formula One of hang gliding. The sports would be kind of like the GT cars. So it's still a highly fought competition, but the gliders we're flying are sort of a bit more like road cars, if you stretch that analogy. They're still racing machines, but they're not quite as heavily tuned as the open class ones. There's also a little bit of a difference on the pilot eligibility as well. So the sports is aimed at pilots that haven't been competing in the highest level open class comps as well. And then in the open class comp in Spain, you've also got that split into 2 categories. So you've got Class 1 Open, which is flex wings, so more similar to the sports class gliders, but they're topless gliders. They don't have a king post, they don't have top rigging, and they're the highest performance flex wings. And then you've also got the Class 5s, which are rigid wing hang gliders. Now, I don't really know how you'd make a motor racing analogy for that, to be honest, because the class 5s are the highest performance hang gliders, and they're flown in a separate class within the same competition. Now, my video from now on, the screenshots you'll see, these are all related to the sports class worlds that's happening in Livorno first, because that's the one I'm flying in, but everything I'm saying about the rules of how hang gliding competitions work, it's the same for all of these competitions. It's applied across all of them. So you'll be able to watch any of those competitions and understand what's going on. As I said earlier, we're wearing trackers all the while we're flying, so our positions are constantly being uploaded to a website. You can go on that website and you can see how we're getting on. Don't have the links for those just yet. They're normally released sort of just before the comp. I will put them in the comments or in the description below when we get them. So a question I get asked a lot is, what actually is a hang gliding competition then? How does it work? So, well, firstly, it's a race. So, like any race, that means there's a course that you've got to go around, and you've got to finish it, you've got to do the distance, and then you've also got to do that distance as fast as you can. Now, in the case of a hang gliding competition, the course is different every day, and it's only decided on the day. So usually just like an hour or two before the race actually starts, it will be finalised. The organisers will announce it, they'll brief it, we'll all load it into our instruments. Because the course is defined by a series of waypoints, so these are points that you program into your GPS. Now, almost always the waypoint is defined with a circle around it. Now, obviously in 3 dimensions that looks like a cylinder, so we talk about getting into these cylinders. So the course is that you have to fly around it from one waypoint to the next, get all the waypoints and get to the finish. So let's dive in and have a look at what a comp looks like. So I can replay one of the tasks from last year's pre-worlds in Livorno. So you'll have a link to go to, which I'll be able to post when I know what it is. You'll come here now, because this is what's going on live at the moment. Obviously, none of us are there. We were there last year, we're not there now, so we're not seeing anything. You've got this button here, you can click to go 3D, and I've already got that open in another tab. So if we go here, and what I've also done is I've gone back in time, so you can click the playback button if you want to review something that's happened before. And I've gone back to, I think this was the Wednesday of the comp. It was the 5th of June last year. So one of the, I can't remember, probably second task, something like that. But if you were watching this live on one of the events, then you'd see a screen very much like this, but it would be happening live. So if you've turned it on, you've gone to that link for the live tracking on one of the days when we're flying. You've turned it on just before the race starts. Then you'll probably see a screen something like this if you go to the 3D view. So obviously here we've got the map in the left hand side. We've got the 3D view on the right hand side. I'll just make that full screen. Now, yeah, so this might look a bit confusing to start with. So if we concentrate on this map, on the 2D map, because that's probably the clearest way to look at it. In fact, actually, I can click that, I think, and it just makes it 2D. Yeah, there we go. So what we've got here is the course. So each one of these are these waypoints. Now, as I say, the organisers set the course on the day. The reason they're doing that is because it will vary. So we'll fly a different route, different days, and they do that because largely because the weather conditions on different days are different, and they need to assess those. It will be a different length course depending on the day as well. So if it's not a very good day in the sports class, which, to be honest, most of the days we had in these pre-worlds weren't brilliant days, so we were mostly getting courses of sort of 40 odd kilometres. If it was a good day, you'd be over 50, maybe 60 or more in the sports class, and then in the open class probably they'd be doing double those kind of distances. Also, because we weren't getting particularly high cloud bases and there wasn't brilliant conditions, so we were kind of restricted into a relatively small area. So to make a decent length course in a small area, it means you need to put a lot of turn points in, so you end up with these sort of very zigzaggy, cat's cradle-y courses. Sometimes it might be that they'll set a course which is sort of a lot more open, a lot bigger, maybe not so many waypoints, but a longer distance. So this kind of thing that you're seeing in front of you now, it looks pretty confusing because there's a lot of zigzags. So if we go round though, you can see that actually these red lines with the arrows on, now these are the shortest distance between the waypoints. Now the starting one is just here, so this is the takeoff. This is where we took off from, and you can follow the arrow that's going from left to right there. Now, what this orange cylinder, this is the start cylinder. Now, in a hang gliding comp, a start can either be an exit start or an entry start. In the case of this particular task that's in front of us now, it's an entry start. So that means that you start the race by flying into that cylinder. There'll be a start time which is defined, and you're not allowed to start the race before that. Now, you can go into the cylinder before that, so you can see there's a couple of pilots there that are already flying around inside the cylinder, which is fine, but they will have to leave it before the race starts, so that then they can take the start at the right time to cross into it. If you don't do that, so if you're in the cylinder before the race starts and you don't go out to come back in again, then you have jumped the start and you get big penalty points for jumping the start. So that's not really something you don't want to do. On other tasks, they might set an exit start, which is where you've got to start the race from within the cylinder and your time counts when you leave it. Quite often, if they're doing an exit start, it might well be that they use the launch as the start cylinder as well. So I said there's a start time, and if you start before that time, you get penalty points. Now, that's the time at which your race is having counted as starting. So regardless of what time you actually cross that line, your time will have been counted as though you started racing at the start time. Sometimes a task will only have a single start time, and it doesn't matter what time you start. Any time after that, you'll have been counted that your race started at the published start time. So obviously it's in your interest to be getting over that line just as the clock ticks over. Problem is you might not be in a very good position to take the start on that first one, and actually what they usually do in competitions is that they'll have more than one start gate. So there's the first start gate, which is the earliest you're allowed to start, but then often 20 minutes later there'll be a second start gate. So if you start after that time, your time will have counted as having started from the second start gate. In most cases, you're best off taking the first one, because not only do you get points for doing the distance and for doing it fast, you also get points for leading as well. And obviously you'll get more of those if you're nearer the front, and assuming other people are taking the first gate, you need to have taken the first gate to get very many lead points. So what you'll usually see before a race starts is a situation a bit like this, with loads of gliders all sort of milling around, trying to be fairly close to the start cylinder, but being ready, being well positioned, in a good position to start the race when it goes. Let's look at that in 3D and see what it looks like. It might give you some idea of the sort of, you can see it's often a pretty crowded sky. Everyone is trying to do the same thing, so everybody's trying to get themselves as high as they can. Oh look, there's a surprise. Manfred Rumour at the top of the stack there again. I'm really not doing well at this point. I've got myself down quite low. You can see there. This isn't a good. I'm not in a very good position there. So I'll desperately want to be getting myself up high before the race starts. Now, it obviously takes some time to get everyone launched and in the air. So on a big comp like this, it's an ordered launch. The launch order is based on the running positions in the competition overall. So if you're doing well, it means you're going to be launching early. Now that's an advantage because it gives you more time in the air to get prepared. So maybe sort of around an hour, you use that time to get yourself established, get yourself high, get yourself in a good position to take the start, so that you'll be able to cross the start line at the earliest possible time you're allowed to, but without jumping it. So if we skip forwards to the start, you can use this bar at the bottom to skip forwards. I've also increased the speed so that it'll run faster. So we're currently about 2.5 minutes before the start now. You can see we've got most of the people are in this sort of area here, which quite a good place to be. There's one person who's already in the start cylinder, so he'll need to come out before the start, or he'll need to come out to be able to come back in again to take the start. A couple of people down here who probably don't really want to be down there. But yeah, so it's now it's about a minute to the start now, and you can see people are starting to fly in that direction. I think I managed to get myself in a bit better position by this time, actually. I'm not sure where I am. I think I'm somewhere in that melee there. You can see it's counting down 30 seconds to the start now, and people are heading for it. If we look in on the 3D and pan round a bit, yeah, you can see sort of the usual suspects being pretty close to the front there. Mario Alonzi, Manfred Rumer. Actually, Alex here got the very best start because he just crossed the line about 20 seconds after the start opened, but everyone in this gaggle is doing pretty well at this point. So if we kind of fast forward and skip through this task, I can explain what's happening and also what I can remember from last year of this task. So I'll try and explain why people are doing the things they're doing, and so then when you're watching them this year, you'll be able to hopefully follow along with what's going on and understand a bit more about what's going on. So we're just after the start now. You can see there's the one glider flying back out the opposite direction to everyone else. That's because he was inside the start cylinder when the race started, so he's going to have to go out of it so that he can turn around and come back into it again. So the general controls for this, you've got your 2D view on the left, you've got your 3D view on the right. Use the mouse, pan and zoom. I think you can click up here somewhere and it will tell you, oh yeah, you can show and hide the waypoints, and that gives you an explanation there of how to pan and zoom around. This arrow on the left, this shows you the current running order. So here it's showing you the distance that each pilot is away from the goal around the course. If someone gets to goal, then you'll see the time that they took to do it instead. You can close that as well. So what's happening now, a lot of people are taking the start cylinder. Oh yeah, also with this, if you want to follow someone, so if we want to see how I'm doing, I can click follow there, and then if I close this bar, there you can see, so you can get a bit more information about a particular glider. It's also I've now highlighted in the 3D view as well there. So I've taken the start. I'm on my way to that first cylinder, which is also happens to be the same GPS waypoint. You can see Manfred here is in front, and I guess, yeah. Oh, for some reason this isn't showing Manfred. It seems to, yeah. There's sometimes glitches with this, so I don't know why Manfred isn't appearing here in the rankings. But he's clearly out in front already. So some people have taken that first cylinder and they're coming back from it. So often when you turn this on, you'll find that it's a bit confusing. You won't be able to tell where people are on the course just by looking at it, especially if it's a complicated zigzaggy course like this. But if you look on that sidebar, you should be able to do it. Now generally with hang gliding competitions, everything it's all really about the strategy. So it's about how you decide to fly the course. So one of the things is that they set the tasks so that most people won't make it all the way around the course. So there's that old adage in motorsport, which is to finish first you have to finish. Well, that's even more true in a hang gliding competition. So when they're deciding on the tasks of the day, the organisers aim is that only between a quarter and a third of people are going to make it all the way around the task and get to goal. If they get more people finishing the course, then they consider that they set the task a little bit short, and if they get fewer people than that into goal, then they made the task too hard. But they're aiming for less than half of the pilots to get round the course and to end up in goal. So that means, as a pilot, when you're flying it, your main priority is to make the distance. So your first priority is to get to goal, but then you've also got to be racing it as well. So you've got to be flying reasonably fast to try and get round there, but get round there quickly as well. How you do that is that you're reading the ground. You'd be reading the sky as well. You'd be looking for clouds, of course. With Google Earth, we can't see where the clouds were on any one day, so you won't necessarily. Some people's decisions might not appear to make sense, but they make sense if you know if you could see the clouds. But people have decisions to make all the time. So all the time that you're flying the competition, you're trying to decide what your tactics are going to be, what your strategy is going to be. So how conservative, how much you push. One of the main decisions is what line you take. So quite often you can see the red lines here. These are the shortest distances between those turn points. So you can see just to touch that turn point and go on to the next one, and then go on to that one, go on off the top of the screen onto here, and then ping across there. But in reality, you can see that nobody is really following those lines precisely. Everybody's flying the terrain as well, so they're looking for where the thermals is. So you can see there's obviously, from the fact that everybody is here, the people there are turning in circles, so they're clearly thermaling, trying to get height. So this is where the lift is. So that's why people are up here. They're not necessarily on these flying these shortest distances. So you generally do have you have decisions about what line you take. Do you follow along the top of the mountains, or along near the top of the mountains where the lift is going to be stronger, or do you try and fly the shorter distance? And the situations where you might do one, the situations where you might do the other. You can see here, I'm just taking that first turn point now. I'm inside that cylinder, so probably in a moment, yeah, there we go. I'm turning round. I wanted to make nice and sure I'd actually got the turn point, so I flew into it. I've turned round. I'm coming out of it. I've got quite a bit of height now. Not as much as those guys, but fairly high. And coming back, and also, hopefully I remembered where that thermal was. So I was climbing in a thermal here before I took that turn point. I've flown out of the turn point, back into it, and now I'm trying to find where I was climbing well again. You can, to some extent, you can trade height and speed. So you're trying to, if you gain a lot of height in one area, you can pull more speed and transfer that height into speed. If you're low, then you risk bombing out completely, of course. So yeah, maybe I think you can kind of see what's going on. So we've taken this turn point. I'm not sure if I haven't been watching it carefully enough to see. No, I don't think anyone's flown out to this one. So this is quite a good example, actually. So you can see the shortest distance from that waypoint would actually be to just fly straight out. It looks like somebody's trying that there, maybe, but most of the people are staying on the high grounds. They're picking up the climbs, they're getting the lift, and they're going to come along this ridge, and then they'll pick a shorter distance to come out and tag that turn point. Oh no, it looks like he thought better of it and turned back there. So yeah, maybe if we just click forwards, jump a few minutes forwards and see where everyone is. Yeah, everybody's still trying to get high on this turn point, as high as they can here, gain as much altitude, try and get close to this waypoint so that they can just fly out into the valley, tag the waypoint and turn back. So let's skip forwards a bit. Oh, someone's going for it. Oh, yeah, there we go. Manfred Rumer, Mario Alonzi. They feel like they've got enough height now. They're flying out to the turn point in the valley. So skip forwards a bit more. Yep, bit more. So Manfred and Mario have got that turn point. They're flying back. So again, if you come into this halfway through and look at it, it'll look like a bit of a melee, but if you click up here you get the running order. Yeah, I don't know why it's not displaying Manfred on that list. He's clearly in the lead, Mario being second at the moment. Now maybe if we skip forwards a fair bit, you're getting the idea hopefully of what's going on. So we've jumped forwards about half an hour, we've got a bunch of people around this turn point. Looks like probably Mario and Manfred, I guess, will still be in the lead. So it's showing Mario there. Oh, it's showing me in third now. So I'm making my way up through the order. I'm probably actually fourth because I think Manfred will be just in the lead, but not showing on this. Yeah. So let's have a look. Let's jump to where I am, see where I am. So there we are. Yeah, so I'm away from the course line, you can see, but I seem to be going round in a circle. I seem to have found some lift there. You can also you get some information on here, so this might tell you this vario bar tells you it's red or green depending on whether you're going up or down. So at the moment I'm not going up anyway. You got a height above ground level, altitude height. Don't take these too to heart. You might occasionally see a negative number on a height above ground level. It's just a reflection of the accuracy of the tracking, the accuracy of the GPS signal. It probably means they're fairly low, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're in the trees or anything. Sometimes in comps we do fly quite low, so we're flying quite close to the slope. I'm not there, but quite often you might well be flying close to the trees, because that's sometimes that's where you need to be to get into the lift. So maybe if we skip forwards to nearer the end. Hopefully this is giving a bit of an impression of how the hang gliding comp actually works. You can see these icons have changed to on foot, so these are people who have already landed. And if you look on the tracking, I don't know whether they're showing the ranking as having landed, but these will be the people that are closer towards the back now. So, it looks like somebody's landed in. Oh, Manfred Rumer has actually landed in goal, so he's finished this course already. So yeah, although this is a sports class comp, for the pre-worlds we had pilots entering it who were top Class 1 Open pilots as well, like Manfred Rumer and Mario Alonzi. They fly in the Open class competition regularly. Now, in the sports worlds this year, they won't be eligible to score individual points. They will still be flying, but there'll only be one of those kind of pro, if you like, pilots per team, and they'll be scoring points for their country, but they won't be scoring points individually. So yeah, let's just skip forwards. Let's skip forwards to sort of near the end, because I think that was where the crux of this task. That was where this task kind of got quite interesting. Was near the end. Now let's see where we are. If we go there, where are people? Yeah. So now I'm showing down in 13th, but this isn't actually quite as bad as it looks, because I've got a fair bit of height. So also don't just look at the positions, look at the altitudes as well. So there's a couple there ahead of me who are also reasonably high, but then there's quite a few who are showing as a distance ahead of me but lower. So it's not necessarily just about the distance, it's also worth looking on the altitude as well. So in this, I remember this situation well. So this was the final, to get to this final turn point, it was a long way out in the valley. You had to really like fly out to get to it, and once you got it, you'd come back. You're flying into wind all the way there. Obviously, you've now got you'd have the wind behind you when you're getting back, but whether you'd catch any thermals out in the valley or not was really uncertain. Now, when we're in competition, you might hear people talking about final glide. So final glide is what you do after you think you've got enough height, so you've climbed high enough in a thermal that you'll now be able to just not get any more thermals, but just glide the rest of the way around the course. Now, I didn't think I had enough height for the final glide, which is why I'm scratching. So I am quite low there, you can see. I'm quite low over the top of this hill. We call this squirrel chasing when we're near the tops of the trees. I'm trying to get more height there, but you can see that some of the others are now, they've pushed further out into the valley, including Mario Alonzi, including some others as well. So the big question now is who's made the right decision. Obviously, if these guys are actually able to make it all the way to this turn point and then all the way back to goal, they'll have beaten me. They'll have been ahead of me. But if maybe I was right to hang back a bit, I'm over the, if you look in 2D, you can see I'm over the highest peak around here. This was where we were getting the best thermals earlier in the day, so I'm hoping I can catch something over here. I remember it being very frustrating because I could see these people, I could see that they were ahead of me, they'd gone off on glide, but I was gambling that I didn't think they had enough altitude to be able to make it all the way to the turn point. It looks here like Miner he's given up on taking that turn point, and he's just going to now he's flying straight to the goal field without having made that turn point. So he won't, although he'll have landed in the goal field, he hasn't actually made goal. He hasn't flown the task. Mario Alonzi, 800 metres. You've got Alexandre at 650. Who's the other one? Baptiste. So yeah, I'll be watching those from where I am. You can see I've gained some height now. I'm a little bit higher than I was. Still not massively high. Not as high as we were earlier in the day on that point. But let's watch these people. Let's watch them, see what happens. Maybe I'll just skip forwards just a few minutes, see where they've got to. Jump forwards a bit. Yeah, so Mario's nearly got the turn point now. I'm still scratching, still waiting. At this point, I'm not sure whether I've done the right thing to hang back, but I just didn't think I had quite enough height to make it if I'd gone on glide from there. Because bearing in mind it was an interwind glide, and looking at the, as I say, we didn't get brilliant weather conditions here, so I wasn't necessarily sure that I was going to be able to make it if I went on glide from there. You can see that Mario is going to make this turn point, at least. These two are now starting to look quite low. They're only 250 metres above ground level. That's getting a bit tight now. And unfortunately, I'm going. Look, I've decided I've got enough height now. I think that's me. So I'm just pointing it at the waypoint. I've decided I've got enough height to do it, and let's see if I was right about that. So it looks very much like these two people. They might just make that waypoint, but they're never going to make it back with that amount of height. So again, let's just skip forwards. Oh, Mario's going to get it. He's going to get that turn point. You'll see him just get into that turn point and immediately turn around and come back. Yeah, there he goes. I'll just skip forwards a bit because just give you the idea of what's going on here. So I'm on glide. I'm racing this way, Alex is almost on the ground now. I think Baptiste is nearly on the ground. Mario's made that turn point. He's flying back to. He's flying. He's now going downwind. At least he's not very high off the. 500 meters, only 280 off the ground level. And yeah, Alex is definitely landing here. Baptiste has maybe still got a bit of chance, but yeah, we'll skip forwards. He's not going to have enough height to get over the top of this low hill here. He's going to have to fly around it. And yeah, you can see him going around that side. Now, I'm not quite sure why I was so far off the sort of theoretical line, why I was flying to that side. Perhaps it was because so I'm basically flying parallel to the ideal route. I got my thermal off the top of Mount Nudo there. We can see Alex is now on the ground. Baptiste is still trying by the looks of it, but not very high at all. I've started it with lots of height. I'm up at 800 metres, but this is going over the bottom of the valley. I'm going to have to go over slightly higher ground now. And you can see Mario's flying round, skirting round the edge of this mound, but it looks like he's definitely going to make it into goal now and complete the course. Let's skip forwards a bit. Now, Alex and Baptiste are on the ground. Where am I? What am I doing there? I can't see me on the 2. Where am I on the 2D? Is that it? Oh yeah, there I am. Oh, so I've made it. I skipped forward slightly too far. I've made it round that turn point. I'm now flying back. The reason I'm veering off this side now is because I can see I'm not going to have enough height to go over the top of this hill, and Mario chose to go around that side of it. I'm planning to go around this side with the option that I know that there's good landing fields in this kind of area. So if I've misjudged it and I've not got quite enough height to make it back to that landing field, then at least I'll have bits to peel off now. Landing areas I can peel off and land into. By the way, the reason there's a red cylinder and a blue cylinder there, both around the same GPS waypoint, the red cylinder is an end of speed section, so that's when your time counts as having finished when you cross that line, but you still have to make it into the blue cylinder to count as having got into goal, having got the distance. The reason they do that is to try and encourage safer behaviour so that people aren't racing all the way until ground level. You race up until the red line, and then you've just got to make it the rest of the distance into the goal field and have enough height to turn and land. So ideally, when we do a hang gliding competition, we do want to be judging it so that we just make it, because obviously if you land with excess height, then you could have gone faster. But obviously, if you don't have enough height and you don't make it all the way, then you'll lose a lot of points. And you can see that I'm coming round the side of this low hill now. I've got a little bit of height. I've got just a little bit of lift because this slope was facing into wind, so it was just buoyant air which gave me that little bit of extra. So that now I can be really I'm basically now comfortable. I can see the landing field. I can see my goal. Can almost see my BR after I've landed, and now I can start pulling a bit of. Maybe I can pull a bit of speed. Maybe I'm not even got quite enough height to really speed up. What am I doing speed wise? 58. So yeah, I'm not actually flying very fast there. Maybe I could have gone faster, but yeah, I'm just about to cross the end of speed line. Crossing the end of speed section, and then finally into goal. And on that day, there were only 3 of us in goal. It was Manfred Rumer, Mario Alonzi, and then myself. No one else managed to make it all the way out to that waypoint. There were more people landed in the goal field, but they had decided they weren't going to be able to make that turn point and had given up early. Yeah, you can see I've finished the race in terms of time, And when I cross into that blue cylinder, I'll have all of my distance points as well as all of my time points. You have to wait a little bit to get the final results through, because there'll be the scoring to do, which will also add in any lead points. There's points for being out in front. You get points for the position that you arrive in the goal field as well. And when all of that's collated at the end of the day, then the scores will be published. So, yeah, hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight. So this is the landing field there. You can see I've got in with a reasonable amount of height actually in the end. So I could have cut it even finer and I could have flown even faster. So now I'm going to circle down, set myself up, land. Yeah, so hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into how the hang gliding competitions work. As I say, I'll be posting the link so you'll be able to follow us live. There's also the Open Class World Championships happening in July as well, and when I've got the link for that, then I'll post the link there as well. I'll put some live streaming from launch and from the landing field up as well, and yeah, by all means, hopefully watch it, follow it. And cheer me on, or cheer on your own nationality team pilots if you prefer. And yeah, see you later.